Hello everyone, welcome to round 14 of Grand Prix Turin. Here in Italy, Rich Hagen and the good Dr. Frank Carsten with you for the penultimate round of Swiss. It's Team Energy for Daniel Antonio. It is Jeskai Gift, God Pharaoh's Gift for Simon Nielsen of Denmark. We're opening up, Frank, with Team Energy with the absolutely off we go. Here's my tune with Ether, just exactly what you'd expect.
Yep, typical turn 1 play. Always good to get the energy reserve rolling. Now the God Pharaoh's Gift deck is a relative newcomer to Standard. The first time that the card was previewed, I already started brewing stuff with Gate to the Afterlife, and I think many other people have also been trying to do it, because you know it is the ultimate build-around card, so it's just fun to brew with. But it has gone through a bunch of iterations. First, maybe people tried some decks with a bunch of cyclers, didn't really work out. Then people tried blue-white God Pharaoh's Gift, which actually turned out to be quite strong. But now the Jeskai version, adjusting the mana base a little bit to get Instant Neonate as well as Cathartic Reunion in there, it has proven to be worth it.
So here is the Instant Neonate in play. You've got Cathartic Reunion, discard 2, draw 3. Angel of Invention has gone away, Minister of Inquiries has gone away, and the magic number up at the top there in the graveyard for Nielsen Frank is 6, right? 6 creatures is what we...
watch this is gonna be great.
Yeah? Go on.
Well, just look what... yep, turn 2, Hollow 1. Because not all of these lists play Hollow 1. But Nielsen included 3 copies of the card.
Okay.
So by just discarding 2 cards to Cathartic Reunion and then 1 more to Instant Neonate, he got to cast on turn 2 a 4/4 creature for free. Now you don't even have to win with God Pharaoh's Gift with this deck. If you could just play undercasted creatures that early in the game, that's also a reasonable path to victory.
Right.
Unfortunately, there was a removal spell.
Well, you've got to let people have some removal spells, Frank.
Sure.
Otherwise, I mean, I know that then all your mad combos would go nuts all the time. That's all we'd be left with. So Daniel Antonio has indeed, of course, used his Harness Lightning on that Hollow one. A Hollow victory, but I'm not sure who for. Antonio has Rogue Refiner next. Got 3 energy there. Opposite Trophy Mage for Simon, which enables him to search up something that costs 3. And back we go to Antonio.
So I believe at this point there are 5 creatures in the graveyard of Nielsen. If he manages to trade this Rogue Refiner for the Trophy Mage, it would go up to 6.
Yeah, Neonate,
so
Neonate, Angel, Minister, Glint Nest, Hollow. Yeah.
Yep.
5 of 6.
So I'm not even sure that Daniel even wants to attack with this Rogue Refiner and offer the trade, because 6 is the magic number with Gate to the Afterlife. And you don't really, if you're in Antonio's seat, want to give Nielsen an ability to activate that powerful artifact ahead of time. Because then there will be a God Pharaoh's Gift, likely a 6/6 Angel of Invention, Flying Vigilance Lifelink. That's going to be tough to beat for any deck.
6/6, remember, because of Fabricate, as you can see on the screen.
Yep.
Generally, it's not going to be servos, though we have seen that from Simon Nielsen recently. It's going to be a big 6/6 Angel of Invention. So there's Gate to the Afterlife, a very distinctive card with that sort of sliver down the center of the card on the artwork. You know, you get a very good sense that there aren't many other cards that could be. Antonio now has another Rogue Refiner in hand, at least. And
yeah, it's a little awkward. On the one hand, Antonio really wants to start attacking, because you don't want to give the gift deck all that much time to set up and find, say, another Cycler or an Instant Neonate to fill up the graveyard. But if he attacks here, then the Trophy Mage is gonna die, and that will get Nielsen to the threshold that he needs to activate the gate.
yeah, it's a bind, isn't it? And again, I think that's what's so interesting about Magic, that you get a game where, in theory, a 2/2 with now no ability for 3 mana is holding off 5 creatures.
Yeah.
Just sitting there going, no, not coming past me. And you know, how do you navigate that properly when you're Antonio? I mean, look at the board. He's utterly dominant, except no, he isn't.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about the gate to the afterlife. And as it turned out, Nielsen did have a way to fill up his graveyard. After all, there's a Cathartic Reunion. Looks like he's discarding a creature and God Pharaoh's Gift, so that should get him to 6.
So let's see how Nielsen navigates this through. He reminds me quite a lot of Mark Tobias. I watched a lot of Mark playing with Marvel when that was in Standard, and indeed he played that in other formats as well. And he really seemed to know the deck inside and out, and his physical actions were almost ahead of the mental actions because he knew where everything was going, you know, where the top cards were going, and so on. I've watched a couple of rounds with Simon earlier today and through the weekend, and he seems super crisp in the physical actions of the deck, as well as you know, this is clearly not a deck he picked up on Thursday evening for the first time. He really does know his way around it.
I would guess so. Then again, Simon is also an experienced Magic player, so if he had told me, well, I actually picked up this deck on Thursday and I kind of learned how to play it correctly and all the interactions yesterday, I also wouldn't be surprised. When you know how to play the game, then it's relatively easy to pick up a deck and learn how to play it reasonably pretty quickly.
This information brought to you by Hall of Famer Frank Karsten.
Meanwhile, Angel of Invention came down, and Nielsen went for the 6/6 rather than a 4/4 with 2 tokens, likely to play around Glorybringer, which would otherwise be able to pack off the Angel. And yeah, Daniel, maybe if he has a Harness Lightning, he could kill the Angel and then start attacking, maybe get somewhere.
He's Glorybringer. Glorybringer, yeah.
That doesn't really work, not against the 6/6. I guess Daniel could attack with everything, still exert Glorybringer on the Angel, because then Simon doesn't have great blocks.
But I mean, just look at this. He's passing with 6 energy, a long tusk hub that just craves energy, a pair of 3/2s, a 2/2, a 2/3 that can make flyers, and a 4/4 flyer with haste that can kill something when it attacks. And he's just going, pass?
Well, this is exactly what I meant when I said at the beginning of the match that the gift deck can go over the top of what Teamer is doing, and here you see it. God Pharaoh's Gift in the right deck, of course, does things better than the top end of Teamer, and now drawing 5 cards even. The champion is a 4/4 zombie, and it gets the +1/+1 boost from the Angel for an extra card because why not? Yeah, this is a nice clinic from Nielsen on what his deck is trying to accomplish, and it is going perfectly well for the Dane.
So, in simple terms, and I know it is never this simple, but are we watching a value deck that is fundamentally fair and wins by saying, here's a little bit of bonus from out of this Virtuoso and a little bit of bonus out of this Rogue Refiner, dying to a deck of unfair? Because drawing 5 cards when you make Champion of Wits like that, that's not fair. Having 6/6 Flying Vigilance Lifelink, that's not fair. Is that what we're seeing here? We're just literally seeing fair getting blanked by unfair?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to describe it. Teamer Energy is indeed perhaps the example of a fair deck in the format, because it's just value creatures and cards that synergize well together, but mostly a deck that plays honest Magic, works with some combat math, maybe a couple removal spells, but a gift deck that is just more readily classified as a combo deck. And Daniel has seen enough.
Yes.
He knows that another God Pharaoh's Gift is going to be coming on the next turn, bring back even more zombies, and his deck, at least in game 1, just has no way to really deal with that.
Fascinating stuff. Well, I'm going to send Simon in search Frank here in search of the sideboards to take a look at those in just a minute. And while he does that, I'm going to take a look with you at the standings. So why don't we take a look here. So as we said, Andrea Sonzoni of Italy is your leader, clear on 39 points. The perfect 13-0. 5 away from a perfect record. Now, Steve Locke won Grand Prix Minneapolis earlier this year, off no buys, mind you, without any defeats, but he had some IDs in there. So can Andrea Sonzoni become still what would be the first ever player in Magic history to have the perfect GP weekend? We'll find out over the next half dozen hours or so. Dario Parizzoli, Italy on 36. Then there's Leon van der Linden, who beat Bart Van Etten last round. Alain Bardini of France. There's another Frenchman, Germain Kayaba. They're against each other this round on 33. Antonio and Nielsen locked at 33 as well in battle, trying to get to 36, which could be the number that lets them pass on the final round of Bloodbath, as it were, the final round of Swiss. Lucas Blahon still in the thick of it with his mono-white Eldrazi. Robin Dola there with blue-black control. We'll see Dola in our Time Walk match in a little bit up against Lucas Blahon. That's going to be a really stonking matchup for you later in the round. And Alessandro Lippi hanging out on 30 points. So you see 18 players. Bart Van Etten's the top of the 30 points. They can reach 36, which suggests to me that we may just about end up with some 36-pointers IDing into the top 8 on 37. But let's go one next step down, 21 through 40. Everyone here, you see so many players waiting to take the place of those top players if they stumble. George Channing, who we had in the booth here earlier today, one of the big favourites for English nationals, he's at 10-3 now and in the hunt there. Also in there, Michael Meyer, Florian Koch, a Grand Prix champion from Germany. Another Lucas, this one, Brokamp, is at 10-3. Oscar Jones over here from the United States at 10-3. And very quietly, because he lost quite often and quite early, Martin User is at 10-3 and still on target for, you know, just another routine 11-4, 12-3, top 32 finish here. He really is on the top of his game. And finally, let's just bring you 41 through 60. Again, almost everyone here on 10-3. Francesco Giorgio will be playing at English Nationals. Singapore's Fabian Lee is on 10-3 there. Sasha Schwartz, which I never managed to say properly, and Milan Niznansky there as well. And also a shout out to China's Yuchen Liu, who keeps going to the GPs. We see him in North America, we see him in Europe, really traveling the world and representing China very admirably at the GP level. So that's the standings. There we are. So they're still shuffling up in the fluorescent green sleeves for Antonio and Simon Nielsen with his Jeskai gift. Frank, talk to me about sideboarding.
So Daniel definitely has to add some interaction to his deck in order to deal with what Simon is doing. In his sideboard, he has some copies of Negate. That can help, basically countering the gates to the afterlife, or potentially snagging a cathartic reunion that can be quite potent. Also, 2 copies of Struggle to Survive, which is mainly there for the backside, because that will allow him to shuffle the full contents of Simon's graveyard back into his library, which is an excellent answer to the God Pharaoh's gift. Daniel, if he wants to go deep, also has access to Confiscation Coup. It'll take a lot of energy, but technically taking over God Pharaoh's gift, yeah, might be a nice play to make as well. God, I would love to see that.
well, you see, you'd love to see that. What I want to see is him have Confiscation Coup, but not have enough energy, and then the God Pharaohs can be the gift ungiven.
All right.
Which would be fantastic. Oh, I can't wait for this next game now. My word. Confiscation Coup is actually one of the most delicious cards in Standard right now, because the things it takes are so absurd and so powerful for the player who's having it stolen. You know, it's just a lovely, lovely card. So good. Do you think he will do it? Do you think he will go for that plan? Oh, you've got a God Pharaoh's gift. Now I've got a God Pharaoh's gift.
I think you might as well. But Simon may also add a couple of copies of Negate of his own. He cannot change all that much in his deck, because it's a synergy-driven deck, and all the pieces, they need to be there. You can't really cut you can't cut too many creatures, because then Gate to the Afterlife isn't good anymore. Yeah, you can't really cut the artifacts either. So it will be tough for Simon to adapt his deck all that much. But maybe adding a couple of negates to fight back against those, let's say, hate cards that Daniel maybe bring in. That is something that I could envision Nielsen doing as well.
So, you broadly felt that Nielsen was well positioned for game one, and that's certainly what happened. Where if you'd cut the screen in half and looked at the board state on the Teamer side and gone, look at all these things I've got in play, you'd be thinking everything's fantastic, and then you sort of bring the Nielsen side back in, and it's like, yep, this little 2/2 trophy mage did incredible work, and then moments after that, I had a 6/6 flying vigilant trample lifelink, whatever it is. Yeah, just it seemed very routine, that victory. Are we shifting in sideboard, or do you still see Simon as a favourite in the sideboarded games?
It's probably closer to 50-50 at this point. But on the whole, I'm pretty sure that Nielsen is a favourite to win the match. Maybe Daniel might have a small edge for this particular game because, well, two reasons. One, he's on the play. Two, Nielsen is mulliganing. But we'll see how it works out. Both players have kept by now.
So Simon planning out turn number one. Yeah, let's not have any energy to start. Don't need to handicap the system. So it's land and Minister of Inquiries. Thank you very much. Good start for Simon.
Yeah, and that is one of the best one-drops in the deck. Probably even more powerful than Insolent Neonate, because it can just fill up your graveyard by itself, getting you towards the 6 creatures you need for Gate to the Afterlife, and also finding that necessary Angel of Invention so that you can really abuse God Pharaoh's gift when it comes down.
Antonio had Servant of the Conduit. Simon continues, even with the mana this time coming in tapped, still gets gets to cast Insolent Neonate on turn 2 rather. So there it is. Chance to discard, sack, draw a card. Meanwhile, Antonio will send this in. Will he? Oh, maybe not.
Well, if he attacks with it, then Nielsen could double block, I guess. Though I'm not sure if Nielsen would actually be interested in trading, say, Minister of Inquiries for a Servant of the Conduit.
He's not in a rush, is he? Really here. I mean, the 2 points of damage isn't that critical, I would guess. Here's Minister saying, 1, 2, 3. What have we got? We've got a Trophy Mage, a Walking Ballista, and a Cathartic Reunion. So creature count at 2 in the graveyard.
Yep. And Daniel seemed to have stumbled a bit here. He missed a land drop, just added another Servant of the Conduit. So looks like he is very light on mana and just didn't want to risk losing his source of mana to a potential double block on the previous turn.
Well, he's drawn a Tune with Ether, which obviously helps significantly in terms of both fixing and pure number of lands available. But Gate to the Afterlife has come down for Simon Nielsen.
Yep. Well, unless Daniel has some kind of answer in hand, I think I spot a negate in his hand, but that might be too late at this point because the gate has already resolved. Unless Daniel has...
Yeah, I think there might even be 2 there, plus a Long Tusk Cub. Looks like it might be a Rogue Refiner on the far left.
Yeah, then on the one hand, Daniel could have passed the last turn without playing the Servant to keep negate mana up, but Nielsen would probably have seen right through it and just not committed the Gate to the Afterlife when Daniel has 2 mana up at that point. So I think I like the play of making Servant of the Conduit for Daniel on the previous turn, but things are not working out for the player from Cyprus.
No, it's Gate to the Afterlife, not negate to the Afterlife.
It never stops.
I'll die eventually.
Alright, so the mill was 2 lands and 1 card above the 2 mountains. Now there's a hollow one. I think the card above the 2 mountains is a Spire Bluff Canal, but it's a bit difficult to
yes,
see.
I believe it is.
Okay.
We should zoom in.
Like they do in those like TV shows, where suddenly it's like, yep, enhance, zoom in, and they can see the license plate of the person that they're after. Not always as realistic, but
So Daniel Antonio this time does at least have a board state with creatures that look like they could be attacking that potentially can be attacking.
I'm adding up the number of creatures, and it looks like it is indeed up to 6 already. Yeah, that Minister of Inquiries, also thanks to the energy from either hub, has pretty much done it all by itself.
Yeah.
That's and that's all you need to do with this deck. Turn 1 Minister, activate it a couple times, turn 3 Gate to the Afterlife, and yep, there we are. God Pharaoh's Gift. No problem, no biggie. Just oh yeah, draw 4 cards.
Just the 4 this time, because no Angel of Invention in play.
Maybe add a hollow one to the board afterwards.
Simon's got 8 cards in hand right now. So he's about to pitch.
Oh, there are the angels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be over quickly, unless Daniel finds an answer for the God Pharaoh's Gift or the graveyard on the next turn. I think he has 1 turn, 1 draw step to find something. Otherwise, this game is likely gonna be over.
Wow. What an absolute beating.
So, this turn Simon has drawn already 8 cards. 1 in his draw step, 4 from the champion,
God.
3 from the Cathartic Reunion. He has discarded more than enough to play a free hollow one. Is this even standard? Feels more like he's playing modern.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel.
I'm going to assume that is not the correct answer.
No, I don't think that was an abrade. I don't think he has an answer to the God Pharaoh's Gift yet.
Drawn and attuned with Ether.
Looks like a bunch of green cards.
Yep.
I don't think that's gonna do it when he's gonna be on the receiving end of an Angel of Invention on the next turn. It's a bit unfortunate for Daniel. If he had found his 3rd land in time, then on turn 3 he might have been able to cast Servant of the Conduit, say go with negate mana up. But
yeah, okay.
just that 1 turn mana stumble just didn't work out for him, and it has spiraled out of control all from there. Yeah. It might also indicate that cards like Abrade or Struggle to Survive or any artifact removal might be a better sideboard card against the gift deck than negate, because you can't always keep mana up to counter the Gate to the Afterlife on turn 3.
3 mana from Simon. Is this another gate? It is. Daniel this time gets to say no.
A little late.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Simon gets to attack for, let's see, this is a whole lot. 6 for the Angel, then 10 from the other creature, so that's 16. Which means that the Tireless Tracker, okay, it doesn't have to jump block, but it can at least trade for something else. Oh yeah, and then the Minister can get in as well, because Daniel will not be able to block the Minister, then he takes exactly 16.
Right.
So it's 2 free damage essentially.
Oh dear. This is car crash magic, isn't it? I mean, Daniel's a fine, fine Magic player, and he's just sitting there being torn to shreds. Oh. I can't watch anymore. I'm going to look away. You finish it off, Frank. I'm just hand to the screen.
Well, I don't think there's much that Daniel can do from here. No, this Jeskai gift deck, at least in the games that Simon has been playing it here, has been super impressive. Like, obviously, it is weak to some interaction, like a Braid. That might be one of the best cards against it, just destroying the God Pharaoh's gift after you do a whole lot of work. And there are other ways of dealing with it, like anti-graveyard cards. But if everything works out for the God Pharaoh's gift deck and it doesn't face any interaction, then it is probably one of the best decks in Standard right now.
So there you have it. Simon Nielsen polishes off Daniel Antonio, which is not certainly putting him out of the tournament at 11-3. Although best guess 12-3 should be somewhere in the top 16. So we're going to head across town to another match for you. We are in to game 3 coming up. Team Energy against Ramanat Red. While we wait for game 3 here, Frank, a complicated question for you then.
Mm-hmm.
So, God Pharaoh's Gift was a card and a deck that the pros spent quite a lot of time trying to do something good with at the Pro Tour.
Yep.
Here is a good version of God Pharaoh's Gift. Is it that the metagame was different for the Pro Tour and they had something similar to this and it wouldn't have been good there? Or did they just not find something similar to this version? And if they didn't, why not?
I think it's more the former. In a metagame where a lot of people are playing Ramanat Red, playing a somewhat slow deck like God Pharaoh's Gift is a bit of a liability. In addition, the weekend before the Pro Tour, the God Pharaoh's Gift deck became known on Magic Online. And that also meant that lots of people packed just a couple more hate cards against it. Lots of Braids in the main deck, Scavenger Grounds, right, the desert that exiles graveyards. And I think that it just wasn't very well positioned at the Pro Tour. But a minor reason is also what you mentioned, that I don't think the perfect version had been found yet with all the key cards. Although I'm thinking that the positioning of the deck was more of a factor why many teams ultimately did not settle on God Pharaoh's Gift for the Pro Tour. But now Standard is a bit different. It's more diverse. Lots of different decks are being played, and if the metagame is right for it, then God Pharaoh's Gift is a good choice against, well, mid-range decks that are not super fast, that you can just go over the top of, and also when people are not necessarily expecting the God Pharaoh's Gift deck, because if they come prepared with lots of answers, the artifact removal, maybe dispossess in the sideboard, stuff like that, then it won't be a good choice. So I don't think it's the type of deck that will ever truly dominate Standard, because there are safety valves, but there are surely weekends where it is going to be a great choice for the people who really want to always pick the right deck for the metagame.
So a question for chat, I'm sure someone in there will know, before we actually get to see it properly. Those mountains on the right of Julian Henry's hand, what set are they from? I recognise them and like them, and I can't remember where they're from. So feel free in chat if you know the answer. Which mountain is that in Henry's hand? Meanwhile, we are gearing up for game number 3 between Julien Henry of France and Germany's Christian Hauck. Again, the winner here gets right to the verge of the top 8. Might need to play in the last round, might be able to draw. Are they Mirage? Maybe they're Mirage originally.
Could easily be. I do like the image on the mountain.
APAC promo suggests someone. And then other people say Mirage. Yeah, Mirage and APAC is the suggestion. Oh, okay.
Either way, Falcon Red Gorger is just the best possible 1-drop for Henry here. Gonna be attacking for 2 on the next turn, almost surely. likely alongside, well, either Bomat Courier or Urchaker Kenra. So a good start for the French player.
So Hulk opens up with Ether Hub, gets himself 1 energy.
Ooh, and that's Ancrop Crasher, the draw for Julien Henry.
That's curvilicious, very definitely.
Yep.
But here's a Magma Spray, which is great on an Earthshaker Kenra for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's fine. Julien Henry is probably thinking, at least that Magma Spray is now not going to target the Ancrop Crasher, so
Sure.
he's not too worried about it, I don't think.
Up to 2 energy for a tune. Some pretty nice mountains on Hawk's side of the board, to be fair. Very old school.
And the Glory Bringer, the draw step there. So Henry boarded into more of a big red deck. I don't think he has any additional lands in hand now. Might be Glory Bringer, Hazoret, and Bomat Courier.
Yeah.
That is a bit of a downside of boarding into a bigger deck. Hazoret may be slightly more difficult to turn on, but often in the post-sideboard games, when opponents also have more removal, you just may need that slight bump in card quality one way or another. Oh wow. Another Ancrop Crasher, that's also a pretty good draw. And this is an attack for 8, with Hauk unable to block, putting him at 5 life already.
Yeah. And as we know, that's in Hazoret range well and truly.
Yeah, this is gonna be a tough game for Hauk to come back from, because even though one of the Ancrop Crashers cannot attack on the next turn, the other one can, and it could exert. Maybe if Hauk can play 2 blockers this turn, or let's say a blocker and a removal spell, then he might be able to stabilize. If not, it's gonna be really, really difficult.
To close out the discussion, for those of you not following in chat, thanks to Jap333 and many others who say definitively, Mountain from the APAC promo set number 1, and the art was by Heather Hudson. So Heather Hudson, many years ago, you put your heart and soul into that particular mountain, and here we are talking about it on the stream, and very, very delightful they are too. Christian Hawk pops in with the Rogue Refiner, Julien Henry to 17.
Well, I'm sure that Julien Henry knows that Harness Lightning is coming. There's no way that Hauk attacks with his Rogue Refiner if he doesn't have Harness Lightning for the Ancrop Crasher. And then Hauk may be trying to ambush the Falconrod Gorger with Longtusk Cup. So what can Henry do here? Looks like he drew Ramanap Ruins,
yes.
So he could play Hazoret this turn. It won't be able to attack yet, but well, Henry can just pass the turn and potentially set up a lethal attack on the next turn. He could also, let's say, play Bomat Courier, but it doesn't really accomplish anything, and also doesn't use his mana optimally, so this is surely the correct line.
Yeah, the Bomat Courier kind of missed this game, really. It was like by the time it turned up, it wasn't particularly relevant. Could yet be in the future, but doesn't look like it.
Well, at least it's a 1 mana card, so even if Henry draws another Hazoret or Glorybringer, he can always pitch one of them to Hazoret and then cast Bomat Courier with the remaining mana to make sure that he'll be able to attack with Hazoret one way or another. So even if it was just a 1 mana do absolutely nothing, 1 mana 0/0, would have been fine.
A reminder that Robin Dola against Lucas Blahon, blue-black control against mono-white Eldrazi, is our blockbuster Time Walk match here in round 14. I'm really looking forward to that one. Hopefully it's not 2-0 in 10 minutes, but you never can know. That's part of the beauty of the game. But yeah, I think that could be a really special game of Magic. 2 very fine players. And a reminder that after we're done here, we're in round 14 right now, but after we are done with the final, we will be handing you across to our good friends over in Washington, D.C. for day 2 of their standard Grand Prix. Can the Bash brothers, Corey Baumeister and Brad Nelson, get it done yet again and become the first brothers in history to go back to back to back standard Grand Prix top 8s in the space of 6 weeks? Just utterly crazy? We'll find out.
Meanwhile, Hauk is doing the best he can to get back in this game. I like the attack with the Lungtus Cup there. Even though you want to have like some blockers back, because you basically need 4 blockers here for Hazoret, Valkenrod Gorger, Aankrop Crasher and the Exertion. You also cannot give Julien all that much time, because it just takes 3 Hazoret activations and you're dead. So Hauk has to tightly balance this game of, well, keeping enough blockers behind to make sure you don't die to the attack, but also putting up enough pressure to make sure that you win the game in 3 attack steps before all those Hazoret activations will spell game over. Now Whirler Virtuoso can make 3 tokens.
Yes.
So in total Hauk has let's say 5 blockers. 1 can be shut down with Aankrop Crasher, another with Earthshaker Kenra, which Henri drew. But yeah, then you still cannot get in for substantial amounts of damage, so you might as well use the Earthshaker Kenra to
fodder for the Hazoret.
Basically.
Just wait and kill him, Hazoret, says Veteran Brawlers. I think that is what the plan is for Julien Henry right now. Julien looking at the energy and thinking, okay, so 9 of those, that's your 3 flyers. Yeah, right, okay, nowhere to pump because the Long Tusk is tapped. You've got 2 mana.
Yeah, attacking with everything may not like it will accomplish that a bunch of Topters are gonna die on Hauk's side, but Julien also has to be careful, because if he just swings all out with everything, then he's also at a risk of taking reasonable amounts of damage on the swing back. Whereas if he plays it conservatively, keeps a bunch of creatures behind, then he surely has blockers, and he can just bank on 2 Hazoret activations to win the game. So if he attacks with everything here, well, a bunch of Topters are going to die, that's for sure.
Right.
Maybe Bomat Courier is gonna be eaten by the Rogue Refiner, and then Hauk also has to do some math. He surely cannot take any damage, so he has to block all of the creatures. And Hauk knows that he has to win the game in 2 combat steps, where on the next turn he also needs to make sure that he has blockers at the ready for every creature that Henri may be able to send in. But that Aankrop Crasher is now essentially irrelevant. He doesn't have to double block it in order to trade it. The game is not gonna come down to that. So you can just jump block the Aankrop Crasher. And then you probably want to keep the Rogue Refiner, because you need it as a 3-power attacker if you want to win the damage race against Henri. So my first idea would be block Rogue Refiner on Bomat Courier, likely make another Topter and just block all other 3 creatures.
Yep. Okay, so there we are. The Bomat Courier is going to bite the dust. There's a trade-off there. Hazoret kills the 1/1. The exert is exerted. And now Hauk's got a Bristling Hydra in hand.
Yeah, well, I'm not so sure about this attack by Henri. I'm not sure it leaves him in a more favorable position than if he had just passed the turn with a bunch of blockers behind. Yeah. It might give Hauk an opportunity to actually win out of nowhere with a damage race.
Yeah, Bristling Hydra, well, Rogue Refiner first, but presumably then Servant of the Conduit, or whichever way round. There we are. Okay, Bristling Hydra and the Servant, up to 6 energy, 5 creatures versus no blockers at the moment, but obviously only 3 can come in. So is he going to just go straightforwardly, I've got 2 back, you've got, if you've got a removal spell, fair enough?
Well, Hauk has to figure out what can Henri still have in hand at this point.
Right.
As we know, it is Glorybringer, and I think that it's also a likely card that will be going through Hauk's mind. So that gives an incentive to, yeah, at least keep some energy back for the Whirler Virtuoso to make a flying blocker if need be. And you probably want to keep 2 creatures behind. One needs to block the Hazoret. The other one you probably want as a blocker in case there's a Bomat courier coming.
Bit of insurance.
Yep. Although if you attack like and if you attack like this, you still have the top tier token, so you also don't necessarily lose to a top decked or Shaker Kenra or Aankrop Crasher, I believe. Plus, in the meantime, you are probably doing enough damage to make sure that you can swing in for lethal on the next turn. So I think I like the balance of attacks by Hauk here.
All right, well, here we go, because Julien Henry is going to untap with Hauk at 3.
Another copy of Hazoret, I believe.
Hazoret and Glorybringer.
That's not going to do it.
It is not.
And, well, I think
Hauk's got this, hasn't he?
I think so too. I think Henry's perhaps overzealous attack on the previous turn has not worked out in his favor at all. And yeah, Henry can't really attack. I guess he could attack, then the Hazard will just be chump blocked by the Servant of the Conduit. But if he just passes the turn, then Hauk is obviously gonna swing in with everything. He has to. And that's gonna be lethal, because Henry can only block, say, the Bristling Hydra, and then there's easily more than 6 damage still coming through.
Oh boy. As someone who makes bad attacks all the time, that's why I like to play control, so I can't make bad attacks because I haven't got any creatures to attack with. I would love to go back and look at that board state again at some point and just work through how you arrive at the decision to be aggressive there when you're on Henry's side of the board. Certainly not because I think I know better, but because I know that I don't, and trying to work out what avenues you arrive at that takes you to that choice. It's easy to look now and go, the choice is wrong, he's going to lose because of it. But it's the getting to the choice that matters.
Yeah, maybe Henry didn't really think everything through 2 turns in advance to see what would happen exactly with the attack that he made. I think if he had gone for the attack, he might have also have been better off by just playing Earthshaker Kenra and swinging in with everything rather than discarding it. But yeah, I think Hauk is attacking for the win here, and I don't think there's anything that Henry can do at this point.
Hauk cannot.
Effectively winning the game at a virtual 1 life. That was close.
Wowie. Christian Hauk with Teamer Energy takes the game and the match 12-2. Julien Henry 11-3. Now he has to look at tiebreaks in the final round to see whether someone on 36 might make it in. Coming your way very, very soon is Time Warp Magic. We're going to reset briefly, and then we will be with you with Lucas Blahon against Robin Dolar.